Hello. That looks weird. I don't know. It always looks different. I don't know why. Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where it was on this week in 1988 that the world got to know one of the most unique bands, not only of its era, but I would say of all time. And this was the band Living Colour. Now, Living Colour was a fusion band, which itself isn't unusual. Artists have always been fusing different genres and different approaches to music. John McLaughlin has a quote that I love: "All music is fusion, and it always has been." Dvorak borrowed from Beethoven. Wagner loved Beethoven. Everyone loves Beethoven, and the list can go on. When the fusion bands of the 70s came together, it was really more than just a bit of jazz and a bit of rock. It was a sort of, I hate this word, cornucopia of so many different styles mixed into one, which actually counterintuitively allows the unique personalities of the musicians involved to come out. And all of this applies to Living Colour. Now, Living Colour had a very modern production style that really sort of was at this interesting transition between that 80s sound of, gated reverb on the drums, guitars with as many effects as possible, pounding, slap-oriented bass, but it also sort of signaled a more stripped down early 90s approach to rock. The production sat somewhere really interesting at that middle section. But the music itself was a fusion of so many things. It was a fusion of funk. It was a fusion of very complex sort of soul harmonies, the kind that you would associate with the Isley Brothers. It was that with traditional hard rock, the kind of stuff that would appeal to a Van Halen or Led Zeppelin audience, but also with some of the more modern approaches to the rock of the day, the sort of Metallica type of almost thrash metal. Not that they were a thrash metal band, but you can tell they were influenced by some of that as well. They were uniquely virtuosic, which is an attribute that tends to help when you're in the world of fusion music. And the themes that they talked about were very almost borderline academic at times, very philosophical, socially conscious. And another interesting thing where the sort of sociological meets the musical is that while the United States was becoming more and more integrated from 1964 onwards, the music business tended to become more segregated in the 1980s. And one of the reasons for this was because radio stations on the FM dial had gone from being a free form, free for all to, okay, this is album oriented, this is adult contemporary, this is soft rock, this is urban, this is that. And a lot of it, whether it was sort of the urban stuff or the R&B stuff, okay, we have black radio stations, we have white radio stations. And MTV weirdly was something that was criticized in its early days for having almost exclusively white artists. Michael Jackson changed it, but even so, they would show a Michael Jackson video or another R&B video, a Lionel Richie video. They weren't showing hip hop until they realized they had to. And once they embraced hip hop, that became one of the most popular genres on the channel. And Living Colour put together their band amidst this 1980s atmosphere, where in the 60s, Motown had white audiences, and white rock bands had black audiences. By the 80s, if you were listening to black radio stations, you'd be listening to, Roger Troutman and Zapp. You'd be listening to sort of Angela Bofill, Narada Michael Walden, Whitney Houston, who did crossover. And then the white radio stations would be Journey and Van Halen and Def Leppard, and you get the idea. So they were important in that sense as well. And again, their sound very unique, really distinctive production style. Vernon Reid, very much a jazz fusion influenced guitarist, and he's very vocal about that. Their first album, Vivid from '88, was good, but I think their best album was from 1990, Time's Up. Really, really good album. And the song Type, in particular, I would consider that their signature track. So check that out and check out their other stuff too. You will not be disappointed. As always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.